Many cultures around the world have ancient myths and legends of tree-human hybrids. For example, the Jiminju of Japanese mythology is a tree that grows human heads as its fruit. Are such stories just myth, or could it actually be possible for a tree-human hybrid to exist? Before you answer, take a look at this. 2007, Java, Indonesia. American physician Anthony Gaspari travels almost 10,000 miles to meet and examine a new patient, a 35-year-old carpenter who goes by Day Day. The images you're about to see may be disturbing.
Really, the question that I had, because it was so dramatic and there was so much deformity, was this real or was this something that was staged?
These photographs are truly astonishing. This gentleman was given the name Tree Man because of the growths all over his hands and feet. They look like bark, essentially. These patches extend over 6 inches out from his fingers in all directions.
When Dr. Gaspari finally examines Day Day, he quickly realizes his condition is no hoax.
He had difficulty moving, and the first thing that he communicated to me was that he wanted to get better. And so we drew blood, we took specimens, and we brought it back to the United States to be analyzed.
Soon, the whole world shares the doctor's amazement. Wild speculation erupts around what we're actually seeing.
Some people on the internet speculated that this person was half tree, half human, like the Dryad mythology, where a spirit inhabits a tree and makes it move.
People also speculate if it's an infectious condition that could spread.
Some say that this growth reminds them of the fungus made popular in a recent television program. That fungus was based on cordyceps, which is a fungus that grows on and inside of its host and eventually takes over its nervous system and kind of takes control of the animal, turning them into a fungal animal hybrid.
There is certainly anecdotal evidence of humans playing host to plant life. In 2013, a 16-month-old girl in Beijing, China, had a fully developed dandelion growing in her ear that had to be surgically removed. But could some invasive species of vegetation or a fungus live off a person on such a massive scale? Let's see what our experts unearth. We start by addressing the wildest speculation that somehow Day Day was becoming some sort of tree-human hybrid. Anthropologist Kathy Strain is familiar with the worldwide historical myths surrounding these humanoid plant creatures, but says it's a silly theory that contradicts science.
Plants live on carbon dioxide. They breathe it in and exhale oxygen. Humans are the reverse. We breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, and those two cannot be together in the same organism. I do not believe that this photograph represents a true human-plant hybrid.
Physician Ed Hope thinks basic genetics support Strain's opinion.
We share a staggering 50% of our genes with plants, but even this isn't enough for us to produce a hybrid. The animal with the closest common ancestor to humans is the chimpanzee, where we share 98.8% of our genes, and still this isn't enough to produce a hybrid.
So if it's not genetically possible for a person to transform into a plant-human hybrid like in folklore, could a disease or fungus like cordyceps infect a human like in TV shows?
You may have heard of cordyceps within popular science fiction shows, but thankfully for us, it only infects insects. Cordyceps can't grow much above 80 degrees, and our bodies at 97 to 99 degrees are just too hot for it.
Okay, but if it's not a fungus, could it be a plant growing on Day Day, like that dandelion in the little girl's ear?
In order for tree bark to survive, it has to have a leaf coming off of it that can then take that sunlight for energy, and he has no root system that can go into the ground in order to get water. And so over time, it would die and fall off.
The mystery of Day Day's condition is finally solved after Dr. Gaspari examines the samples taken back to his lab, putting the tree man myths to rest.
It's a wart virus infection caused by human papillomavirus, which was a result of a severe underlying immune deficiency.
Day Day's tragic genetic condition is called Lewandowski-Lutz dysplasia.
Only 500 cases ever reported. Unfortunately, there is no known cure.
Our verdict, the rare disease Lewandowski-Lutz dysplasia. Even though there was no cure, surgeries did give Day-Day brief respites from his suffering. At one point, he was even able to wear flip-flops again. Unfortunately, Day-Day succumbed to his illness in 2016. But his fight to get his life back remains an inspiration. It's March 2022 in Western Thailand. A family is gathered around the bedside of a figure that barely looks alive. The man is a monk named Luang Pho Ayai, and he is very much alive. Look again. His skeletal figure and desiccated skin make it hard to believe this video is real, but it is.
Some people who've seen this video have wondered if this is the oldest man who has ever lived, guessing that his age is over 150 years old.
For the record, the oldest documented person in history was Jean Calment, who was born in 1875 and died in 1997 at an amazing 122 years old. So 150 years old would be a huge jump. But scientists say where a person lives can have an effect on how long they live.
Researchers are fascinated by so-called blue zones, which are geographical areas with a larger than average number of people who are 100 years old. By contrast, the average life expectancy in the United States is only 77 years old. Could the man in this video be benefiting from one of these so-called blue zones?
These blue zones don't share many similarities when it comes to geography, so their connection to longevity remains a mystery. But there's another possible explanation, a theory that some people can mummify themselves.
What this video brings to mind is the supposed Japanese practice of soku shinbutsu, which is the practice of self-mummification. Self-mummification is meditating so deeply that you pass away in that meditative state, becoming a preserved body. The practice is believed to have been observed by Buddhist monks who would practice a form of such extreme asceticism that their bodies would simply mummify themselves.
According to Atlas Obscura, between 1081 and 1903, at least 17 monks managed to mummify themselves. Is that astonishing ability what we're seeing here? The act of self-mummification was criminalized in Japan during the late 1800s as it was deemed inhumane by the government. So has this man revived the practice, or is he mastering some other form of self-preservation? We asked our experts. Could this man be gaining extended life by residing in one of the world's seemingly magical blue zones? Biologist Stephanie Menke says that's an easy no.
Being in a blue zone is not a factor that allows him to live this long. This is in Thailand. It's not in one of the blue zone areas.
So could we be looking at a real example of self-mummification in action? Menke is doubtful.
I don't think we're seeing self-mummification here. You know, that his skin has gone through a lot over time and his muscles have broken down and he's just aged. It appears he has plans to become cremated after he passes, so he's not attempting to become a shoku shinbutsu.
Menke believes this may be nothing more than a determined monk using a trained, focused mind to prolong the inevitable.
Your mind can actually have a great influence over your health. There's studies where monks have been able to actually change their internal core temperature by several degrees of Fahrenheit just through meditative states. I definitely think that mind over matter could have helped him live this long because he's been able to keep his stress so low, likely because of meditating.
Emergency physician Ed Hope thinks Luang's appearance and his advanced age, whatever it is, have to do with how much he eats.
Luang probably has a very modest diet, and he probably avoids some of those other things that might speed aging up, such as smoking and drinking alcohol.
Research backs up the hypothesis that calorie restriction slows down the aging process, but it can't prevent inevitable muscle breakdown known as sarcopenia.
So sarco means muscle and penia means a reduction of. So we're seeing a reduction of muscle mass. The cells he produces now aren't as good as the cells he's produced before, and that's why he's got this very frail appearance.
However, Hope says another factor might play an even bigger role here.
A human can only live so long, and that's really going to be defined by your personal genetics. He's certainly benefiting from good genetics as well. Not everyone, even if you live a very healthy life, will live as long as Luang here. The woman that's lived the longest, Jean Calmet, a French woman who lived to the age of 122, actually must have benefited from very good genetics because she was smoking all the way up to age 117.
And as far as Luang being the oldest living man at 150 years old, we dug into it. Ends up that's just a rumor that caught fire on the internet.
Sadly, Luang passed away due to advanced age at the age of 107.
Our verdict? We agree that what we are seeing is a man who extended his lifespan through disciplined eating and who benefited from good genetics. And while it ends up the rumors of Luang's life were greatly exaggerated, his surprising success on TikTok has, in a way, granted him a form of internet immortality. 2018, Rondônia, Brazil. Deep in the Amazon jungle, researchers from FUNAI, the Brazilian National Indian Foundation, are scouting when they come across this stunning scene. A lone indigenous man, naked except for a loincloth, swings an axe and chops into a tree. Who is this man, and why is he out in the middle of nowhere?
Researchers have been tracking this man for quite some time and discovered several huts that he's built. And in the middle of his huts, he digs a very deep 6-foot hole.
The man lives as a hermit, and those holes are as much of a mystery as he is. But when researchers have tried to contact the man, he's either fled or shot arrows at them.
He clearly seems to be thriving well in the conditions that he's living in, and is definitely nervous when it comes to outsiders entering his area.
Researchers believe the man has been the sole inhabitant of this territory for at least 26 years, but they still have no idea what language he speaks, his name, or what tribe he came from.
We know that there are a lot of uncontacted tribes that still exist in the world today, where no one is allowed to go near it. The reason being, every time any research teams gotten too close, the people have acted quite aggressively in trying to scare them away.
So an uncontacted tribe? Yes. But one solitary man? That's unheard of. And without any information on his origins, an intriguing possibility arises. Could he be the last surviving member of a lost civilization long rumored to lie hidden in the Amazon?
So the first expedition down into the Amazon area happened around the 1500s.
In the 16th century, Spanish conquistadors ventured into the Amazon rainforest seeking a fabled lost city of gold. Some referred to it as El Dorado, other times the City of Z. By the 19th century, most people dismissed the existence of a lost city as a myth, deeming the Amazon too inhospitable to support large-scale populations. But that didn't stop this man from looking. British explorer Percy Fawcett would conduct 8 expeditions to find Z. He departed for his final voyage in 1925, and he and his 2 companions were never heard from again. The questions. Did Fawcett actually find the city of Z? Did its citizens kill him? And is our solitary man in the hole their sole surviving descendant? There's a lot to unpack here. To solve the riddle, we're going to need our experts to do some digging. Archaeologist Ed Barnhart says that the lone man's hut and garden are more modest than the cities of conquistadors' legend. But he fits the physical description of ancient indigenous tribes, and he grows the same yucca and pawpaw plants and hunts monkeys, wild pigs, and birds in the same fashion.
He's barely clothed like most of the cultures in the Amazon. He's got the right haircut. This man obviously grew up in the Amazon, and he knows how to survive there.
Could he have some connection to the people mentioned in the legends? Thanks to a new cutting-edge technology known as LiDAR, in 2022, archaeologists discovered the remains of an urban settlement that spans more than 1,737 square miles in Bolivia's Llanos de Mojos region, which isn't that far from the Brazilian border. The city belonged to the Caçarabe culture, and it is just the latest proof that large urban societies did exist in the Amazon. The Caçarabe abandoned this city around 1400 AD for unknown reasons, and the jungle soon swallowed what was left behind. So clearly, lost cities were real, and they really were lost. For all we know, Z did exist, and its remains are waiting to be discovered by LiDAR. And this man is the sole survivor of that civilization.
So we know that once societies collapse, the people that were living there just disperse back into the environment that they've always lived in. So it's possible the man in the hole is directly related to the people that lived in these great cities.
Why is he alone? Barnhart says the likely solution to that mystery is a tragedy that's befallen many uncontacted tribes.
Unfortunately, a lot of them fall prey to loggers or miners or hunters, and without anybody ever realizing it, folks from the Western world come in and they eradicate these tribes.
That's also the most likely reason for those holes. Brazilian officials think it's likely our man's tribe was wiped out by attacks and poisonings instigated by encroaching ranchers. The holes are defenses against further attacks.
This poor individual is probably the last member of his tribe. No one knows how to talk to him and has no reason to think that the people that are contacting him aren't trying to kill him.
On August 23, 2022, his dead body was found in a hammock outside his straw hut. He is believed to have passed from natural causes. The good news is that he didn't die violently, as he logically feared. The bad news is that his language, culture, and religion all died with him.
He's a tragic example of exactly what's going to happen to all these wonderful cultures unless we spend more time protecting them.
So sadly, much remains unanswered. Our verdict is that the mystery man was likely the last of his tribe. But we don't know whether or not his people were connected to Z or any other lost city. We do know that against all odds, he thrived in the jungle alone and hunted for over a quarter of a century. He truly was a living legend. May he rest in peace. It's August 2019. A strange video said to be filmed in Auray, France, starts making the rounds on the internet. It's rumored to be footage that was discovered in the Vatican, and you can see why. A brief black and white clip shows a woman in a plaid dress climbing a brick wall with one arm, while dragging a woman in a dark dress up by her hair in the other. When the creepy wall climber gets close to the top, she dangles the frightened, struggling woman for a few seconds before dropping her to the ground as the video suddenly cuts off. What gets me is this moment. Let's freeze it right here. The woman in the plaid dress isn't just climbing up the wall with superhuman strength, she is doing it with one hand. How on earth is that possible? Catholic miracle researcher Michael O'Neill says the internet lit up with claims that this woman was possessed by the devil.
In the Gospels, we have 12 or more cases where Jesus casts out a demon. In one, Mark chapter 5, he encounters Legion. And in that case, the person who's possessed exhibits such strength that no chains can control him.
Legion refers to a group of demons who collectively possess the man, but are exorcised by Jesus and turned into pigs that then drown. But there are modern possession stories too. In 2012, 3 children in Gary, Indiana were said to walk up walls, levitate, and speak in demonic voices. This strange behavior continued until a local Catholic priest performed a series of exorcisms.
The Catholic Church acknowledges demonic possession as a real phenomenon and actually has a rite of exorcism that's carried out in dioceses all over the United States and around the world. Father Gabriel Amorth, who is perhaps the most famous modern exorcist, claimed to have done over 1,000 exorcisms during his lifetime. Exorcisms have even been done by popes.
And the number of priests performing exorcisms is on the rise. According to one source, in 2005, there were only a dozen in the US. Today, there are around 150. So could there be hidden examples of demonic possession in the Vatican's vault?
All kinds of crazy things are claimed to be in there. UFO evidence, things that might debunk church teaching, and also a time machine that supposedly could take you back to the time of the crucifixion.
Only thoroughly vetted scholars are allowed access to the Vatican's secret archives, and to enter, they must get through Swiss Guard security. The researchers can view a maximum of 3 pre-requested documents a day. They are not allowed to photograph anything and must re-request access every 6 months. With that kind of security, it seems it would take a real heist to leak this footage if it's stored there. We'll leave it to our experts to sniff out any culprits. First, emergency medicine physician Dr. Ed Hope analyzes if it's even possible for a person to climb a wall one-handed, as seen in the clip.
The wall is probably much harder to climb than most rocks. She's also only climbing with one hand. She has to let go with that hand to then be able to extend it to climb higher up. You'd expect her probably just to fall off the wall.
So the woman's climbing technique seems highly improbable. But could a rush of adrenaline make this achievable? Here's a theory some accounts of possession can be attributed to hysterical strength, where the body's stress response triggers this hormone.
Whenever we're in a stressful situation, we secrete adrenaline into our bloodstream. This sends more blood supply to the muscles. It also makes more oxygen available, so it increases your heart rate and your respiratory rate. But adrenaline only goes so far. It's not suddenly going to increase your muscle mass, improve your tendons, or give you climbing technique enough to suddenly scale a building.
Then could this actually be a demonic possession? Dr. Hope wonders, is it even possible to be physically or psychologically possessed?
In medieval times, mental illnesses such as schizophrenia and physical illnesses such as epilepsy were often diagnosed as demonic possession. So that's thankfully largely been replaced as our medical knowledge has increased. And if someone was demonically possessed, they're still working within the physical boundaries of the human body.
With Dr. Hope doubting this video's authenticity, can forensic video analyst Michael Primo help us figure out if it's truly legit?
Geometric shadow analysis was applied to specific areas of the image where we see shadows. And you can see here that there's shadows coming from this direction, which is the primary light source. But the way that the light is coming in and down in this direction, it's inconsistent. Light can't produce two different shadows if we're to assume this is a natural primary light source being the sun. These shadows were fabricated.
Primo concludes this scene must have been composited with CGI, using techniques to make it look old.
This appears to be a high-quality image, something that would have been produced from a high-definition camera. Being that it was black and white, this was most likely a filter that was applied to try to demonstrate that this happened some time ago. The general size of the video is inconsistent with older technology that would have produced a black and white video resolution.
Our verdict? This video was made with CGI. While the mysterious Vatican archives are very real, this video just isn't.